Welcome back stalkers and welcome back to a new video. So today we have a new patch for Stalker 2, that being patch 1.3.1. Now this is a smaller patch than the one I covered previously because GSE has been very active at the start of 2025 to basically fix up the game as much as they can, because keep in mind we still have the roadmap which they are supposed to release, but I'm guessing it's taking a bit longer until they wrap everything up when it comes to the main game, because if they want to add anything on top of this one, or especially the DLCs they have been talking about even prior to the release itself, they really have to sort this out first and then move on to adding new content, because whenever you add new content into the game without fixing the base game, it can cause issues. That's why, for example, CD Projekt did the same thing with Cyberpunk 2077 before releasing Phantom Liberty itself. So there are two main things here: the main story, side quests and encounters fixes, and the technical part. I will start with the technical part first, and then later on I'm gonna be going through the main story fixes, but keep in mind there are of course spoilers in that segment of the video, so your discretion is advised. So first things first, when it comes to the technical part, keep in mind I tested this since yesterday, and well, it's not a huge patch so there wasn't too much to test, but I still managed to see it, and there are some things which actually fixed even for me in this update. So they first off fixed an issue where NPCs could not return to their designated places after the mission. I actually had this issue which I didn't even know I had, because one of the NPCs which was involved in a quest really early on in the game after the mission was gone. And it's only after this update that I've seen this NPC again, which basically is a huge part of like the introduction into Stalker 2 when you arrive in the first town. They fixed an issue where the sound effect for entering ribs anomaly could loop and repeat every 10 seconds. That's good. Now they also fixed an issue where the crosshair could not be disabled through the setting. This was the problem with the previous patch. Honestly, I thought I was going crazy. I forgot to mention it in the previous video I did, but yes, you couldn't actually disable the crosshairs. Only thing you could change is having the normal crosshair or dot. So luckily, and I can finally play without crosshair because I just don't like it in these sort of games. They also fixed an issue where all drag and drop actions are done with a delay in an any item container at the s.t.a.l.k.e.r location, and they improved the voiceover positioning, so that means where it's coming from it's gonna make more sense. They fixed the issue when the player could only hear the voice through one earbud, and that's been happening from time to time as I played, and I'm hoping it's finally resolved, because it can be just awful when it's just mono on one side and you don't actually hear it on like the right ear or whatever. And they also fixed an issue where the item highlighting did not move to the next item when looting with a gamepad, so keep that in mind. And of course, as always, they fixed a dozen of exception, access violation errors and other crashes, which basically happen once your game crashes. Now in 1.3.1, I did not really have any issues, or the game was not actually crashing for me. So that was good on that part, because whenever these patches come out, especially with like the 1.2, there were some hiccups here and there, but after 1.3 things are becoming a lot more stable, at least for me. Now speaking of the main story, side quests and encounters, I again tried to recreate some of these bugs and I was definitely not successful in that. So first off, I'm gonna be going through like some of the biggest things here which I think people were kinda talking about in the comments as well. So they fixed an issue where s.t.a.l.k.e.r could be missing at the X-17 lab during the Visions of Truth mission, so this was very important because it actually blocked progress for some people. They fixed an issue where the mission objective Find Spirit could not end if the player talks the spirit again right after the first dialogue during the boundary mission. They also fixed an issue where the doors to the underground tunnel and location D could be closed for some players during the Once More Onto the Breach mission. To be honest, this specific mission, like Once More Onto the Breach, they have been fixing it a lot. I think this is one of the most fixed missions and quests within Stalker 2, because every single time when we have one of these, it's always right there, you know, with like many iterations. Also keep in mind that they fixed an issue where monolith NPCs could enter safe zone in Pripyat during the road to the Foundation mission. And last but not least, which I also kinda tried to mimic, was where they fixed an issue where Richter's body could be missing after the boss fight with Korushnov. So yeah, keep that in mind. If you had this issue, try it again, reload a save, maybe even a save before it, because sometimes I noticed when people told me like they reload the save after a patch and it's still not fixed, but if you reload the save before that, it should be better. And look, so far that's pretty much it. I mean, this is more of a hot fix for the patch than like the patch itself. I mean, naming these days is a bit tricky, especially when it comes to update, patch, hotfix. I really enjoyed like the previous way that, you know, things were handled. Like if it's a smaller thing, it's going to be a hotfix in a sense, smaller thing compared to like the bigger patch. But maybe we should separate it like this. But hey, it is what it is. In any way, I'm glad that GSC is actually working on the game. They have been very active overall on socials, and they've been working to really, you know, polish the game. Now, obviously, a lot of things that people were kind of asking for, like night vision, etc., etc. I think those things would be very viable for the game in the long run, because it would just make things a bit more, how would I say, cool in that sense. And I mean, we already kind of had them before, so it would be a shame not to include them in the Stalker 2 again. But I mean, there are many things here which could be added on top of it, like as I said and talked about previously, like monster loot, where you are able to loot those monsters, just because you're gonna be able to get some of that money back once you start shooting those monsters and mutants, which was the case in the previous game, and it worked really well, and from every lore perspective it would make every sense. The only problem with these updates being that they are big. Like if you're talking about GOG or Steam, like every single time like one of these patches, even smaller one comes, it's like minimum of 30 to 40 gigabytes. So it's not easy to download this every now and then. I'm thinking especially people who don't really have good internet. But that's just the case with these sort of games, especially UE5, where you have to overwrite a lot of things. So even though like the updates are constantly 50 gigs, it doesn't mean like the size of your game is going to increase by that, but it's more just going to overwrite things which they're basically fixing, you know, in their development. So that's pretty much it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I will keep reporting on everything GSC does with Stalker 2, especially once they start sharing more details about the roadmap for like 2025 and, you know, beyond in 2026. Because I think this game has so much potential to really like expand and, you know, to change, to evolve, that over the, you know, next I think 2 years we should be maybe getting that. But GSC has been very active, as I said, and I see no reason whatsoever why they shouldn't expand their game further, because ultimately that's what's going to bring you even more sales. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to smash that like and subscribe button for more. Also tell me down below in the comments, what do you think about this patch? What do you want for Stalker 2? And yeah, just write me your thoughts down below. I'm really interested in actually reading them. This is LKM signing out, and I will see you very soon with a new video. Bye bye.